The king sat motionless on his velvet throne, his face a mask of pale terror. Before him, the ministers laid out the contract with cold precision. 1 year of absolute, unchecked power, followed by an immediate exile to a desolate, forgotten island. It was a cruel death sentence disguised as a glorious coronation. As the royal procession began for his predecessor, the outgoing king wept openly. His tears splashed onto gold-embroidered robes that no longer mattered. He was paraded through the city on a massive elephant, a broken man heading toward a jagged shore. The next morning, the cycle began anew. The ministers found a shipwrecked man clinging to a wooden plank. They dragged him to the palace, forcing the heavy golden crown upon his head. He accepted the burden, but unlike the others, his eyes remained sharp and calculating. Just 3 days into his reign, he made a request that shocked the court. He demanded to see the island of his exile. The ministers obeyed, rowing him across the dark waters to a vine-choked coast. He stepped onto the sand, his boots crunching on the bleached skeletons of those who had ruled before him. The man did not scream. He did not tremble. He turned back to the ministers, his jaw set in iron resolve, and ordered 100 workers to board the next barge. For months, the silent island echoed with the rhythmic sound of axes hitting ancient wood. Predators retreated into the shadows as brick houses rose from the dirt. The king visited monthly, directing the planting of fruit trees and the arrival of livestock. While he reigned in the city, he shunned the palace finery. He wore simple linen instead of silk, hoarding every coin of his royal wealth to buy seeds, tools, and materials. He was a king who lived like a servant to ensure he would survive as a man. 9 months passed. The king stood before his ministers and said, "Send me to the island now." They refused, citing the law that he must serve his full year. He waited, silent and focused, as the final days ticked away. When the day of exile arrived, the people dressed him in fine clothes and hoisted him onto the elephant. But the atmosphere was different. Unlike his predecessors who had been dragged away in chains of despair, this king laughed. His voice rang through the streets like a bell. A bystander shouted in confusion, "Why do you laugh when you go to your death?" The king looked down, smiling with a peace they could not understand. "I spent my year building a home instead of indulging in luxury," he declared. "I prepared for my future while others ignored theirs. I am not going to my death. I am going to my legacy. I have built a kingdom where there was only a grave." He rowed toward the horizon, leaving behind a golden throne he no longer needed. The boat hit the sand of a lush, green paradise. As the gates of his new city opened, the king stepped into the life he had built. The exile was over. His true reign had just begun.